Hi everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. And today I'm doing kind of an interesting recommendation video. This isn't even really a trope. This is more of kind of like a list or like a favorites or something, because one of my viewers asked me to make a power couple recommendations. And so this was really interesting to me because I was like, what does power couple mean to me? So I ended up picking some books in a bunch of different genres actually. So I have some paranormal, I have a fantasy, I have some historical romance, and then some contemporaries. And so I'm kind of going to go through them from like not least to most, but from like the kinds of strength that I see. Some of them are just like really solid and awesome couples, and then some of them are just like super powerful, like the most literal version of a power couple. So I'm going to get into that. But before I do, real quick, just want to do a little bit of business here and ask that if you like this kind of content, please hit like. Please subscribe to this channel if you want more romance book recommendations. I do weekly reading wrap-ups. I do tons of trope videos. And yeah, that's what you're going to get if you're here at the Book Refuge, and I would love for you to be a part of the family here. So let's go ahead and dive in, and I'm going to start with the historical romance ones because I feel like those are the ones that, to me, these couples are super strong and powerful and have a really solid foundation, and they're kind of like the, they're kind of like the solid couple in like a couple group, if that makes sense. They're the couple that other people look to for help, or the spine of the families, and that's kind of how I chose them in the historical setting. So the first couple I want to talk about is Cam and Amelia from Mine Till Midnight. So there is a step back on this one, so I'll show you. It's not my favorite step back, but the reason I picked this is the first in the Hathaway series. Amelia is trying to hold her family together at the beginning of this series. Her parents have died. Her brother, who is the heir to the fortune, is a drunk and a gambler, and he is wasting away what little money that they have and not making great choices. And so at the beginning of this book, she goes to London to get him back, and she runs into Cam, who is the, like, he runs some things at, let me find it. Cam runs some things at Jenner's, which is a gambling den we hear about in the Wallflower series. And we actually see Cam in one of the books then. And he is a half Romani, half Irish man who has become pretty independently wealthy, which is really like, he's kind of sitting in this weird in-between place where he's not accepted by English society, and he's also not accepted by his own people because they see him as a sellout and someone who's trying to have the best of both worlds, and they don't really like that. But the thing about them together is that Cam is that kind of man that he realizes that Amelia is the one for him, and he goes for it. And though Amelia is very resistant because she doesn't want to need or lean on anyone else, Cam is able to show her that just because you need help, just because you accept help, does not make you weak. And it does not mean that you weren't able to do it yourself. It's more about allowing someone to help you and for you both to be stronger through that help. Like, it's not about someone just giving you everything and then you're just accepting this help and nothing's coming from it. But it's about what you mutually give each other. And men and women, there are different things that we give each other. And so I really love that. And I think this couple is so sweet, but also so strong. And who they become for their siblings as the series go on really make them a power couple to me. Then the other couple I want to talk about is Hart and Eleanor from the Duke's Perfect Wife. So this one's shiny, so I won't hold it up the whole time. But this is book 4 in the Mackenzie series. And you do kind of need to read that series in order, just because you get to see Hart's journey. This is also the series that starts out with Lord Ian Mackenzie, so I, highly recommend that you start from the beginning anyway. Anyway, you get to see Hart where he starts, and in a book previous to this one, we find out that he used to be in love with this woman named Eleanor. We don't really see her before then, but the other brothers, they all love Eleanor, and we find out that Hart really kind of messed things up. So Hart is trying to become the first, like, Scottish Prime Minister. He's very proud of his heritage, and there's a lot of reforms and changes that he wants to make. And to do that, he really needs to protect his image. Seems like a very hard, aloof man, but he is the same man who saved his brother Ian from a mental asylum and has done his best to let Ian live the life that he wants, even though there are different times in the series where he gets called out for being a little too protective and a little too bossy where Ian's concerned. After seeing what Ian has lived through, I think it's very understandable why Hart would be like that, even if it's, a bit too much. So the setup of, like, the beginning of this novel is Eleanor gets sent some blackmail photos of Hart because whoever this person is, like, they know that Hart and Eleanor have a past. And Eleanor is just such a kind, amazing woman. She's a nervous talker. And you can kind of see why Hart would have been fascinated with her in certain aspects. And so her and her father are kind of poor, and so she needs income, and so she offers Hart a proposition that if he will hire her as the detective to figure out who's blackmailing him, he will pay for her and her father's room and board, and then pay her when she finds out who did this. So Hart doesn't really want her involved in finding out who did this. These pictures, oh, by the way, I should say this, these pictures are boudoir photos. Him and his previous mistress, died a pretty interesting death in the first book of this series. They had taken boudoir photos together, and there are a lot of spicy pictures of Hart. And back then, the photos literally had to be printed out, but the good part is people couldn't easily make copies of them, so there's a set number of photos. The thing is, Hart admits that there's 12 of them, and this person blackmailing is only sending one at a time. So there are more pictures out there, and some of them are even spicier than what they've seen, that could ruin his political career. So anyway, that's enough of a review of this, but I just really loved how Hart, he can control everyone, but he can't control Eleanor. And when these two work out their issues, again, they become that couple through the series that she becomes his Duchess, and she is so warm and welcoming and loving. And I just love Eleanor, and I love her personality. It really is the grumpy and the sunshine one, and he loves her, but he has messed things up. There's been a lot of time between the first time they were together and now, and they lived a lot of life, and he's learned a lot of lessons, and it's so good. I really love that entire series, but I really, really love this couple. So now I'm going to go from historical romance we're going to transfer into fantasy and paranormal. And I'll talk about this one real quick, but when I was thinking of power couples, I had to be a basic SJM bitch and say Rhys and Feyre, because just tell me that you wouldn't think this is a power couple. The High Lord and Lady of the Night Court are one of the most awesome power couples ever. I love their communication with each other. I love the bond that they have. I love the family that they have around themselves. I love how they care about all of their people and wanting to make the Fey world a better place. The darkness that they've had to go through, the traumas that they have, the things that they've survived didn't make them hard. It made them strong. And the grief and the trauma that they go through and that Sarah takes us through with them is very powerful. And I have multiple friends who say that this book really helped them through a lot of dark times. And the place where this couple ends up is amazing. And I can't wait to see more, because there's going to be more in this series and we will get to see them. But to me, they are a power couple, and I had to mention them. So now I have two paranormal ones. So the first one I want to talk about is Hawk and Sienna from the Psy Changeling series. So we really get to see this series, this couple, the things between them start many books before this one. So much so that it was such a tease. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine you guys who were waiting for this book to come out as it did. because it is teased so much. So the Psy Changeling series, there are Psy who have like mental and telekinesis powers. They are also supposed to be emotionless. And then we have the Changelings who are all about emotion and physical touch and love and community, which is everything that the Psy are not. However, Sienna, she is saved from that world by her uncle. Is it 2 uncles? I don't know, but it's her guardians, and brought into the changeling community when she is a teenager. And there's already some serious chemistry between her and Hawk because, duh, they're going to be fated mates. And he's very careful to keep that space. I think this is about a 10-year age gap. I can't remember how old he's supposed to be because I've seen it different places, but it's at least 10 years. And Hawk also thinks that he already had a mate and that she died. Nalini is someone who changes the rules about mates like a lot, and it's not my favorite. I like the rules to be a little more set in stone. I'm fine with, the mate solves everything, because that's fated mates, but I want it to be the mate solves everything and I can figure it out. And in a couple of these, it's like, you literally told us this person had a mate and that it didn't work. But then they have a mate and you're only supposed to have one. But anyway, Hawk and Sienna's, it makes sense because he lost his mate when she was still a child. So they hadn't mated. They just had a mating bond. And so everyone believes that you only get one. So even if she died, but that just, to me, like, Mother Nature or God, whoever you want to say is in charge, like, just wouldn't do that to you, to like take away your one chance at happiness before you even like got it, because she was a child when she died. But anyway, she is one of the most powerful Psy you're like ever going to see in this series, and he is the alpha of the wolf dancer pack, so he turns into a wolf. I love it. And she is fierce, and getting to see them together, the tension, the love story is so good. And then when it's done, I mean, she is a woman fitting of the alpha, and she's still really young where I've read to in the series, but I can only imagine that their power together is going to be amazing, and I love them so much. And then this was really, really hard to pick one, and I could, like, guys, we could make the entire series, but I picked one from The Immortals After Dark, and I actually picked Abyssian and Lila, and I picked them because Abyssian is the king of hell. He's the king of is it Pandemonia? I think it's Pandemonia, which is hell, and he's turning into the devil, basically. He is growing horns and claws, and his skin is turning red, and he has a fated mate, and her name is Lila, and she is a reincarnate. So her previous reincarnation was also his mate, and she died in childbirth. And he has waited all his existence, and she has finally been reborn, and is finally old enough, and he has a chance to have her. But he's so angry because of the way she betrayed him, not by dying, but she died in childbirth with someone else's kid. She married someone else, and she knew she was his mate, and she chose someone else because she thought he was disgusting and didn't want him. And anyway, so I picked this one as a power couple because she is fierce and strong, and she's like, you can't hold me to what isn't even me, because she doesn't maintain her reincarnate memories. So she's like, I don't even know that person, and you're trying to blame me for something that happened 2,000 years ago. Why can't you just accept me as a person I am now? And so this is a captor-captive book. He ends up taking her, and he's going to use her to lose his demon seal, which I'm not going to go into what all that means, and then basically keep her prisoner there. And she's like, fuck that, not going to happen. I'm going to get away. And just the way that tit for tat, like, this guy makes a lot of mistakes, and the grovel is so good. And the way that this story takes a turn, which I don't want to spoil because this is book 17 in a ongoing series, but the way that these two end this story, and like the powers that they have, and the way that they're going to work together and be together from now on, there's no way that they aren't the most powerful king and queen of hell that you've like ever seen. and I just had to put them. I could pick so many couples from IAD, and I really think that the entire series is full of power couples. So if you're someone who likes paranormal and you like strong, fierce couples together, you should check out IAD. You should just check out IAD anyway, because oh my God, what's taking you so long? All right, now we are getting closer. Let me make sure I'm getting through everybody. All right, so now I'm going to talk about Alex and Violet from Pucked. This is the first book in Helena Hunting's Pucked series. I love this couple. And this is, again, the case of a couple who's kind of like the glue for a whole series. So there's 7 books in the series. 2 of them are actually about this couple specifically. Like, the author comes back to them later on. And this is about an NHL player and then the sister of one of his players. And they have a one-night stand. And he becomes like really obsessed with her, like almost unhealthily obsessed with her. But he's also really worried about his image and doing well as a hockey player. And so he makes a lot of mistakes, but I love them. I love that Alex is willing to humble himself and willing to do what he has to do to please Violet, and literally. And I love that Violet is like willing to stand up for herself, but also willing to forgive him when he messes up a couple times. And I just think that they're such a great base in the series. Now, I will say, like, Violet's a little ridiculous. She has no filter. She says a lot of inappropriate things. And Alex is just kind of the, like, straight man in the relationship. Literally, he's straight and that. Because he just is always baffled by the things that she says and does, but also loves her so much and just loves that crazy part of her. And they're such a solid couple together, even with all the craziness. And it just makes me so happy. And I just love them. And so this is one of the couples that I just, because they make me smile. And when I was thinking of power couples, I was like, but they are really, they are. And they become the bedrock of all the other relationships that we see in this series. A lot of it revolves around them. And I love that a lot. All right, I just have 2 left, and I saved the best for last, or the most powerful and fierce that I could think of. So I want to mention Seraphina and Ramon from Twisted Pride. Again, this one's shiny, so I'll show it. Look at her beautiful white dress, and then there's Ramon right here. So this is book 3 in the Cora Chronicles, but it's like book 10 chronologically in the Mafia novels by Cora Reilly. So there's a bit of work to get to this couple. But Ramon is the capo of the Cora, which is the Vegas mob. And to teach a lesson to, I think it's La Familia in Chicago or New York. I can't remember. Maybe it's New York, whatever. He steals that guy's niece, which I think it's Dante's niece, Seraphina, on her wedding day. And this wedding was supposed to be a merging of, a strengthening of some bonds, and he takes her. The book Fragile Longing, which should be out now, is actually about the guy that Seraphina was supposed to marry, and he's now going to marry her younger sister as like recompense for not getting Seraphina. But Ramon takes her, and he means to use her to get back at her family, and so he plans to get her to give in and let him take her virginity and mail her sheets back to her parents. Yeah, there's a lot that is shitty about Ramon, but I actually ended up liking the Cora Chronicles more than the Bound in Blood series, and a lot of that had to do with Ramon. It had to do with, like, we start to see Ramon being built up as this guy back in book 5 of the first series, when we see someone who's in Vegas, and we get to see, how like hard Ramon is going to be. But the thing about Ramon, and the thing that he teaches Seraphina, is that she's never more free than when she was captured by him, because he didn't make her say certain things. He doesn't like punish her for certain things. It's very straight up. He's like, the things that you do, those reactions equal how I will react. Like, there's nothing you can say or do that will make me like feel a certain way about you, because obviously he starts out with just like, I want to fuck you and I'm going to find out a way to make that happen. But there's still never, it's still like consenting. Like that's his thing, is he's like, it's going to happen, but you're going to be the one who asked me to do it. And the choices that her family makes in trying to get her back, in trying to get back at Ramo, and these different things, they really determine the fate of Seraphina and Ramo. And spoiler alert, it has an HEA, and the couple that these two become is amazing. And I love where they're at the end of this book, and where I see them in that series going forward. And I can't even wait. There's still at least another book in the Cora Chronicles coming out about the youngest of those brothers, and I'm really excited for that one too. So yeah, I love it. All right, now we're going to talk about the power couple that I just have to do it. And that is Rosa and Connor from the Calloway Sister series. So this is the first book in the Calloway Sisters, which is a like spin-off / integrated book with the Addicted series. So the way this goes is you read Addicted 1 and 2, and then you read the first Calloway book, and you're like supposed to read them that way. But Rose and Connor are amazing. This is an enemies to lovers. They went to the same college, and he has like always had a thing for her, but she thinks that she hates him. Rose is a very harsh, brash woman. She's the oldest of the sisters. She is always trying to hold things together. These are both pretty wealthy, like famous families. Think kind of like Gossip Girl. Connor is a like sociopath in certain ways. He is a dominant. This is a BDSM undertones in this. That is how him and Rose interact. It's one of my favorite kinds, because she is one of the fiercest, strongest, take no shit woman, and she just like doesn't have time for him and is like, we're never going to be together, but they're like together. Like this couple dates for so long before anything happens, because she wants to have control, and he's like, I'm telling you that when you give the control to me in the bedroom situation, you are like, it's going to be everything, because that's what you need. You want someone to be in charge and to take those decisions away from you, because you have to make decisions for everyone. It affects everyone, the decisions that you make. And if you give that power to me, number one, I won't abuse it. Number two, we're going to have a whole lot of fun. And number three, we're going to become closer than you can ever imagine. And Connor is, I love Connor. I love the way his mind thinks. I love being in his POV. I love like sociopaths and unemotional people. But there's this thing about Connor that he's not overly emotional, but he picks his people, and his people, he will die for them. Like, he has a very interesting relationship with Reich from the series, and like he calls him like dog a lot of times, and he's like not very nice to him, or doesn't seem like it. But he's one of those people that like, if he doesn't like you, you're not getting any of his attention. And he just always is looking out for his people, and so is Rose. So they're a very good match in the way of like, they will do what they have to do to protect their loved ones, and if that is sacrifice themselves, if that is to be a surrogate to her younger sister, because she can't have children herself, if that is to sacrifice and fight and lie, like they will. And the things that they accomplish together, the way that they protect their family from themselves and protect their family from the media and the world, is so good. And I talked about this series in my series You Should Binge, and there's a lot of extra work. Like the Krista and Becca Ritchie, they don't write short books. There's a lot of redundancy in some ways, but the thing is, I love their characters and their stories so much that now that I like know them better and love it, I'm so glad to have all those extra pages, because I love, now that I know how it ends, to get to go back and read them. And I know a lot of people maybe won't like that when it's their first time through something. They'll be like, gosh, what's up with all this extra shit that I don't want? But for me, it's like exactly what I want. So there you go. There is my power couples that I wanted to talk about. Let me know who yours are. this was like harder to put together than I thought it was, because I wanted to differentiate like just like favorite couples I have from couples that I think are very strong together, and either like how they communicate and how they work together is strong, or like what they present to the world is really strong, or the things that they went through made them strong. So that's what I took power couple to be. Let me know who yours are. Let me know if you agree. I'd love to talk with you. So thank you so much for watching this. As always, I have the links down in my description if you want to join my Discord, the romance Discord, or check out any of my socials. So make sure you do that. And if you want to watch some more of my videos, you can do that right now. Bye.